everyone. Welcome to WIU Inside the System, which is going to be presented by the School of Law Enforcement and Justice Administration at Western Illinois University. My name is Dr. Jamie Johnson. I am the Interim Director for the School of Law Enforcement and Justice Administration. And today, what we're exploring is all the expertise that our faculty bring to the table and the people who you might want to be trained under. And today we are extremely excited because we have someone very, very special here today to be interviewed. So right now, Professor Dave Young, 26-year veteran, of the FBI. He came on board at Western Illinois University in 2019. So Dave, welcome to the program.
Hey, Jamie, great.
We're excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
So I'm going to be asking you some questions, and then of course as we start to expand, I may ask you some follow-up questions, but the ultimate goal is to get to know you and how excited we are to have you on our team.
Excited to be here.
All right. So, well, first off, you have a tremendous career. My goodness, with all of your degrees, which we'll get to here in a second. How did you get to become an FBI agent?
So I was always interested in law enforcement. My grandfather was a police officer in Taylorville, Illinois, and I always thought that was really cool. But I ended up going to law school. I also come from a family with a lot of lawyers, and during my first couple summers of law school, I worked in a law firm, and it just wasn't my passion. And I thought, maybe the law enforcement thing might be the way to go. And it just so happened a couple things happened my last year of law school. One was there was a movie that came out called Mississippi Burning. It was about these FBI agents that went down south during the 60s when the KKK was burning black churches. And I just thought, wow, that would be a great job to have, to kind of seek justice and do right and be the kind of the guy wearing the white hat kind of thing. And so I thought that was cool, and it just so coincided with an FBI agent came to our law school to talk about the FBI, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do, the FBI stuff. So sent in an application, and things worked out, and after I graduated, took the bar and joined the FBI a week after the bar. So
wow.
Yeah, that's good.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask a question. For the Mississippi Burning movie that you saw, how realistic is it?
Well, some of the tactics they use, I don't think we would use today in the FBI. I do remember talking to somebody that worked on that case, and they said the movie did get it pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but just the fact they came in and really wanted to seek justice, I thought was really cool. I'm also from Danville, Illinois, and that's where Gene Hackman's from. So I've always kind of enjoyed Gene Hackman movies. So it's just a lot of coincidences there. But no, just. It's one of my favorite movies. I've always enjoyed that movie. So.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Now, you have a law degree, right? I have a question for you. So, with your law degree, was there a specialty area of law that you were really wanting to go into in school, or did it just kind of morph as it went through? Because a lot of our students will say, I come to school, maybe I want to go to law school, but they don't have an idea sometimes. Did it flow, or did you just know?
So I didn't really have a great idea when I started law school, but I really enjoyed the criminal class, the criminal law classes and the criminal procedure. So I always kind of contemplated becoming a prosecutor or going into law enforcement. And then just when that FBI agent came that year, that's like, that's it. That's what I want to do. So it kind of clicked there. But when I went in, I didn't have any great specific idea what I wanted to do with my law degrees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any interesting stories about your training? Because here's the thing, specifically Quantico, right? FBI. How many TV shows do we have on there? And my wife will say all the time, oh my, is it like this or is it like this? Do you have any interesting stories about your time there?
Yeah, so the FBI Academy is at Quantico at the Marine base there outside of Washington, D.C. It was, I think now it's about 26 weeks training. It was a little bit shorter back then. I remember getting in great shape. I think I lost like 30 pounds when I was there.
Oh my
I
goodness.
was basically a college student, kind of living the college life, eating a lot of pizza and stuff, and went out there and they divide it in three. One is the physical fitness stuff, so we did a lot of running, a lot of different physical stuff, defensive training, and then the firearms, and then classroom work. But it was pretty regimented, got in great shape. I don't know if I'd want to do it again, but looking back on it, it's just a lot of fun. Probably the most interesting story that I had was one day we had our legal instructor said, okay, nobody freak out, we're going to have a movie star hang out with us the next couple weeks. I'm like, okay, this guy's joking, what's going on? And then next thing you know, the door opens, Jodie Foster walks in, and she sits down next to me. We sit alphabetically, and with the last name Young. I was in the back row, and the only empty seat was next to me, so she sits right there, and kind of attended the classes with us. She went running with us and did all the stuff that I just talked about, because they're filming a movie called Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, so it was kind of neat. She was a really nice person. I didn't talk to her a lot. She's kind of went through a lot with the, well, she had the whole David Hinckley, Ronald Reagan thing going on, so I didn't want to creep her out or anything, but just a nice person, and also a great movie, right? I think it won Academy Award. I think she got Best Actress or something too, and I didn't win any awards or anything, but she won. But no, it's just kind of neat to have that experience.
That's huge.
Yeah, that was fun. So.
You got to train with her. I mean, that's
that's kind of fun. Yeah. Yeah, so.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yeah, so.
Okay, that's great. See, I like learning new stuff too. Okay, so that is excellent. Okay, so when students come in to a university setting, 18-year-old or say a transfer, they're going to have something that's going to challenge them. It's going to be something that flat out they're going to fail at. Okay, right? So for them as an audience, or even a professional who maybe hasn't suffered this yet, can you tell us maybe what was like a failure that you went through, and then what did you learn from that failure?
Okay. I have failures all the time.
I do too. I had like 10 million already today.
I actually don't look at them as failures. I look at them as opportunities to learn.
Got it.
So I've always adopted a growth mindset, and that's what I would recommend to any student that comes in. Just have a growth mindset. You're not going to be perfect, but learn from learn from things, right?
Yeah.
So there's no investigation. There's no case I ever worked where I didn't make a mistake, or I would look back like, I should have done this. But you try and learn from it and become a better agent. So just have a growth mindset as far as like being a student. Learn what works as far as studying for tests, doing all that. Have a growth mindset, being a roommate, friend, all that different stuff. And I think you'll be a lot happier, and you'll hopefully be a lot more successful as a. I failed at this, so that means I'm not good at it. No, that's not it. It's just an opportunity to learn. And, I don't know how much time we have on the podcast, but all my mistakes I've made in my career, there's a ton of them, but you just try and learn from them. So
we could have an entire podcast.
That's right. You could take up all your time for all the dumb things I did, but no.
Well, I think it's good because, number one, a lot of students, when they look, and I've talked to a lot, especially this last semester, you don't know how many of them want to be you. And you might be going, maybe not. They look at you, they see what you've done, where you've worked, okay, your experience, and they're like, how can I be him? Yep. Or say, how can I be her? And we are going to have mistakes. Yep. And the biggest thing I tell these students is you're going to have failures, but you got to pick yourself up. Yep. And that learning mentality is absolutely essential. And I think that is amazing that you do that.
Absolutely, yeah. So I just think that, like I say, the growth mindset, I tell my kids in class, I'm living proof that anybody can be an FBI agent. I wasn't ever the smartest kid in class. I wasn't perfect and all this, but just be you and try and do the right thing and try and have integrity and all that. And that, in my opinion, that's the most important thing in law enforcement is have integrity and be trusted you're going to do the right thing. And so hopefully they'll listen to what I tell them sometimes. So we'll see.
Well, we have professionals that we should also listen to. Okay, so integrity is something that is used, and it is tough. And I've known you for quite a while now, and man, that is true. Yeah, you do an excellent job there.
Thanks.
Now, we as a freshman, I get a lot of 18-year-olds, especially this summer. My goodness, I have a lot of 18-year-olds, and their eyes are huge and they're big. And is that making sense, right? And they're like, I want to go law enforcement or whatever area, public safety. Correct? What advice would you give to the 18-year-old Dave Young?
Oh, gosh. Oh,
yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
And honesty, Dave. We want honesty because they're going to watch this and see this. What would you give?
For the 18-year-old, I would say just, I don't know if it's necessarily law enforcement related. It's just you got to find out what your purpose is in life and what your passion is, why God put you on this earth, right? And find out what that is. Don't do something just because someone else is telling you need to do it or because you think it makes the most money. You got to find, what is it that gives you a good feeling when you get up in the morning that you get to do, and I don't know, it just makes life pretty happy, right? So here I was in law school, and I realized I would be a terrible lawyer, or I wouldn't, and then law enforcement my thing, and I'm really proud of my career, right? So whatever it is that you decide you want to do, it's basically you're the author of your book, right? It's your life. You're writing it, and just make sure every chapter is kind of what your passion is, and that'd be the advice I'd give any 18-year-old, is just kind of find out why you're here and what you're supposed to be doing. So.
I love that analogy, because a lot of the students come in and their comment was, one that actually said that over the summer was, I don't understand their pressures versus my pressures. And I had an episode with Dr. Luff, and he was talking about as well the technology, the social media, everything like that. Where social media may want to come back and say, no, this is what your authorship should be. Having it be you is essential, and it's just different pressures, correct? Okay, that what they have. But no, I think that's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so now this could be a tough one. Okay, okay, you could have 50, you may have one. Okay, but I'm trying to get 3. What are the 3 most influential people that have impacted your life, your career, or even currently what you got going on?
Okay. I'd have to look at my family. I've been blessed and I'm very grateful. I was raised by some good parents. My dad was really influential. He was just somebody that always tried to do the right thing and was always respectful to people. And he was an attorney and just a nice person and pretty laid back guy. I really like the family. Like my wife and my kids mean a lot to me. They're influential. All my kids I raised them pretty much the same, but they're all different. They all have different careers. They all have different political viewpoints, and I try and learn from them a lot. So they're important to me. So I guess I'm over my 3 limit, but. And then
that's fine. Keep going.
And I also got to put Jesus Christ in there. I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I'm also a believer in loving everybody and treating people and helping the less fortunate. And I think those teachings, just growing up, kind of learning, kind of the golden rules kind of stuff, has kind of helped shape my life too. So,
well, I totally agree. And we know, okay, I mean, it sounds like you've had a lot of impactful people, correct? Okay, and that models what you have. I know I've had a few students who made a comment saying brought by a teacher, they don't have anyone. And I tell them, and I was like, look, we got a lot of role models here at Western. And I think that is essential. And so that you could be one of those impactful people to the student at that time. So no, absolutely. And you got to have a strong foundation from what you work from. Yep. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so now, got to ask this, okay? So what would be like one piece of advice that you would give someone going into your field?
Going in the field? The growth mindset's big. I would say, like, if you're going into the field, if you're a student, is do more than just go to class. Get involved in different activities. Be around somebody that doesn't look like you. Learn how to hear different viewpoints. Be respectful of different people. I think that means a lot. I'd also be mindful of what your actions are. A lot of times when you're young, I know, at least I was, you don't think long-term consequences to some of your actions. So just be aware that, if you're in a certain social situation, that certain actions that you choose in might have an impact when you're applying for a job in law enforcement in a couple of years. So that's so probably the biggest thing, is just be aware of, you don't have to be perfect, right? There's no such thing as a perfect person, but just be aware of that, you're kind of, if this is a career you want, you got to show that you can make good decisions and be a leader and all that. So.
Totally agree. I've been telling them, especially my 18-year-olds, going, well, if you want to go into law enforcement, it starts today. Okay, yes, you're not at the academy or wherever you might want to be, but you start acting like that, you're going to start helping people. We talk heavily about, look, you've chosen basically a servant-style job. We serve the people, and that's a hero-type job, but yes, we have to make sure that you model it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
couldn't agree more.
I think that's huge. And this next question, we're going to be on for a while. I'm going to go after this, and I'm going to explain why, okay? I'll answer this first base one, and I'm going to want you to elaborate on a couple of things that you've done in your career, okay? See how it goes. What's the one thing in your career that you didn't expect?
One thing in my career that I did not expect?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I would say, one of the things that kind of surprised me was just like that some of the stuff we investigate, it turns out that it might not be a real investigation. Like, for example, if somebody says they were kidnapped, it kind of shocked me that sometimes people make up stories because they get in situations that they don't have an excuse, right? And so I think I was a little naive in that aspect when I first joined the FBI. It's like, after a while, and then it kind of wastes a lot of manpower and time, of investigating stuff. So that was always kind of a little disappointing. And I think law enforcement tends to be a cynical profession, so you got to fight that a little bit. And so I would say that was probably the biggest surprise that I had to get used to when I first started. So.
Okay, now I want to go into this because you have a tremendous background. So you have been involved, okay, in investigations of violent crimes, public corruption, civil rights violations, criminal entrepreneurs, okay, bank robbery, kidnapping, white-collar crimes, drug trafficking matters. You were not bored, I'll give you that, okay? For a student going into this, did you go to like specialized training for each one of these, okay? Or can you expand on that first?
Sure. So when you go to the FBI Academy, they kind of cover a little bit of all that. Like if you have a bank robbery, here's the steps to follow, right? And they tell you how to do it, right? You got to do it the FBI's way. You can't kind of go rogue and stuff like that. So you have stuff like that. But if you get out and there's a certain area that you like, you can always go back to Quantico and get further training, advanced training in those areas. Like for evidence response, we go back for a couple weeks, different things like that. But I was in what's called a resident agency. I was never in I was in the Atlanta resident agency out in Augusta, and then when I was here in Illinois, I was in Champaign. So the fact I did all those different things was because you're in a resident agency. You can't really specialize in one area, right?
Correct.
So it's whatever kind of comes up, and you can certainly start your own cases and stuff, but like if there's a bank robbery, kidnapping, whatever, you got to go. You can't be like, hey, my area's not that. I can't help you. You just got to do it. So.
Well, that's excellent. Okay, so out of all these, what was your favorite?
I always liked the reactive stuff. I always liked the kidnappings and the bank robbery stuff because I
didn't expect that.
I know. And I did a lot of white collar stuff just because my background was in finance and business and laws. But I don't know. I just always enjoyed trying to solve things and getting out there and putting somebody that might be a violent criminal off the street. I always liked that.
So out of the reactives, right? Bank robbery, kidnapping, drug trafficking, which was your favorite?
Probably the kidnapping ones. Just, those are always tough ones. We've had some that went really well and one that still sticks today that went bad. But, your goal is basically to get whoever's kidnapped back safe. And then if you can make an arrest after that, that's kind of, I don't want to say secondary, but the goal is always trying to get somebody back. But so it's just, it's one of those things that you're up against. It's a time crunch and a lot of different things going on at once. And I don't know, I just always enjoyed working those.
So it's kind of a little bit of Silence of the Lambs.
A little bit, kind of like, kind of like that.
Kind of a little bit, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were on a response team, okay, and of course you did respond to Oklahoma City, Centennial Park, and the World Trade Center bombings. I would like you to highlight on Oklahoma City. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
So I was in Atlanta Division at the time, and I was part of the response team there. And then basically they would call us out there to kind of sift through stuff and see what you can find and that. So we weren't there like within 24 hours or anything, but we came after that. But it's definitely a very humbling thing when you walk in there and you see a building that is basically gone. And the one thing that stuck out with me in Oklahoma City was that I know that Timothy McVeigh parked the van right next to a daycare center, and I just remember sifting through and finding stuff that, at the time I think my daughter was 1 year old, and it just kind of hit home and stuff like that. But what we did out there was just kind of I don't want to say grunt work, but just kind of going through that. But you felt like in some small part you're doing your job to kind of help out and all that. So. Definitely a humbling experience.
I totally understand that. And you were also in Centennial Park, that's correct, to the Olympics, correct?
Yeah, so I was actually in Atlanta Division, and I was on the response team, and when they had the bombing at Centennial Park, did that investigation. Was also, unfortunately, part of the search of Richard Jewell's apartment and talked to him a little bit and stuff, but obviously it turned out it was not him, but it just shows sometimes when you get tunnel vision, sometimes you tend to lock in on the wrong folks. So that's one of those things you kind of learn from, and it turned out to be Eric Rudolph, and eventually figured that one out. So.
That's excellent. And the World Trade Center bomb, was that the
2001.
2001,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it has been bombed twice. People forget. Yeah, they forget it's bombed in the early '90s.
Yeah.
But 2001 is when we went out there and went out to the World Trade Center. So.
Now the 2001 bombing, was that the lower level
No, that would be the early,
That's the 90s.
the 90s was the one where they put if I remember right, they drove underneath the parking garage and blew it up, and they were trying to topple the towers and it didn't work, but still killed some folks. And in September 11th, 2001 was when the two planes
Towers
went
came
into
down
the
on that
towers.
one specifically. Okay, so
Yeah.
and so far as that one goes, for the World Trade Center bombings, on your response for that one, were you in New York when it happened?
No. So again, I would have been in Illinois at the time, but part of the response teams, the FBI would send these different response teams out there to kind of sift through stuff and look for that. So that's part of that. So.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, my wife has like 28 probably million questions. Okay, so I'm going to start out with this one.
We don't investigate aliens.
UFOs. Oh, trust me,
they're
they're there. Okay, so what is a common myth about your job or expertise of the FBI?
Common myth about the FBI. Well, I think I'm proof that not everybody is a model of the FBI, but no, I think probably the most. Let me think. I'd say the fact the FBI we're called special agents not because we're special, but we investigate only specific crimes, right? We don't investigate everything, right? So people think, oh, get the FBI. Well, we might not have jurisdiction. So, for example, if somebody were to rob the gas station here in Macomb, probably not going to have jurisdiction. The FBI can get involved, absent some other stuff. But if it's a robbery of a bank because it's federally insured, yes, we would have jurisdiction over something like that. So that's probably the biggest myth, and it's kind of unfortunate because sometimes you get a call from somebody, hey, and it's kind of like you got to tell them that, well, we can't. That's not something we investigate. So.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so on some of the shows, they talk about clearances, what kind of, can you describe the clearances possibly, or just like the names of them, of like FBI agents?
Yeah, so as an FBI agent, you have a top secret clearance, which basically you have access to certain documents that the general public or other people would not have. It also comes with responsibilities that you can't, disclose these things. It's on a need-to-know basis, right? So you talk about your wife. My wife knew early on not to ask me any questions on anything. I never shared anything with her. She just knew not to do it, and it's just kind of kept me from getting in any trouble, to say something that I shouldn't. So, but yeah, there's a certain responsibility there. So the last couple of years of my FBI, I did the polygraph exams, and that was one of the things that every agent, including myself, would have to take a polygraph exam to make sure you're not disclosing classified information, doing stuff like that. So it comes with quite a responsibility.
So basically, when you went home, it'd be like, how's your day? Good, bad?
She did that for So I always try to, family is very important to me. I love my wife and kids, and so I would always, at the end of the day, I'd just leave it at the office and come home, and didn't always work out that way. You'd always get a call or something, but just I'd try and give my attention when I was home, and it kind of helped me. If you ask for other advice in law enforcement, is to have something outside of law enforcement. Otherwise, you get burnt out really quick because can be kind of sad and cynical and all that. So I just try and get home and do stuff with the kids or do something else and leave it at the office.
Well, you're ahead of me. The one thing I use, I've gotten hit, and I've been hit probably for some years. It's called boundaries. I don't know if you've ever heard that term.
Right.
And it's always like, work does not have to be everywhere. I'm trying to do better. So it is a very, very challenging thing that we've got. Okay, so now, you've seen a few of the TV shows, I'm sure, right?
Actually, I don't watch them.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just because I try, and it's just like, I don't know. It just seems so silly to me, some of them. But I've seen a couple. The ones I've always enjoyed. Breaking Bad was one that I really liked. I don't know if your wife.
My wife has watched Breaking Bad.
That's a great one. I love that show.
Okay.
Yeah, and The Sopranos.
How realistic to you is Breaking Bad?
Well, that's more DEA, but just kind of the characters in there reminded me of some of the DEA agents I worked with. Just kind of the way they talk to each other and stuff, but. Whether somebody's a chemistry teacher is in an RV doing meth, I've never experienced that, but just I thought they did a great job. That's one I could watch this show. I thought it was really good. Really well
I know what is it? Law and Order. Do you know that show?
I know it. Never watched it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I've sat through a few episodes, and it's that bell dumb thing, and that's always interesting because I know my wife is like, she loves that show because that thing's done in 45 minutes,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And that, as a lawyer, okay, and everyone else, we all automatically know that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then some of the shows too, I was like, one was actually called Quantico, I believe.
I've heard that.
Okay, so one question was this, okay, your travel methods, are you always in Learjets and getting all this type of thing?
I missed out on that one. Yeah, I missed out on that one. So whenever we traveled, we had to fly certain airlines, and we had to. But you just get per diem, but it was always United, Delta, or American. You'd have to fly when you went
So wait a
somewhere.
minute, you didn't have your own private jet?
Did not. I wasn't
What
that
the heck?
important, Jamie. I know. You talk about those shows, and one of the problems we have is what's called the CSI effect. As you talked about the 45 minutes, is that every, you take a case of trial, and every juror expects DNA and all these different things, and why did it take so long to investigate? Why were there no prints on the gun? Well, and you're dealing with that, right? So that's a problem because, most cases don't have DNA. Most cases, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of them don't, And so I think back to my wife. I don't want to pick on my wife, but like my daughter had her purse stolen out of a car.
Oh.
And they smashed the window and took the purse. And the guy came out and she's like, why didn't they get DNA? Why didn't they? It's like, well, it's probably not the highest profile case they're working. I don't think they really need to. So it's a problem though with yours, right? Sometimes they expect things, investigations only take 45 minutes and do all this stuff. And
I got it. I totally got it. Now, okay, so you are basically our leading expert on polygraphs, okay, and how to do it. Would you please tell this audience first what a polygraph is, because I guarantee that there's going to be questions on that one, okay?
Okay.
And I know here comes controversy. The validity of the polygraph test, okay? Can you go into that for us?
Yeah, so polygraph test it's not a lie detector test. It just measures people's physiological responses, right? We all have what's called the autonomic nervous system, our fight or flight. And so if something was to bother you, your body automatically changes, right? So if I were to pull out a snake from under the table and put it in front of your face, unless you love snakes, your body's going to change, right? And the biggest changes are you might start sweating, your heart rate's going to go up, your blood pressure, and your breathing changes, right? So you're ready to either fight the snake or run away or whatever kind of thing. So that's really what the polygraph measures, is those things, right? And the thinking behind the polygraph is if you're lying on a question, it's going to bother you, right? So did you kill that person? If you lie, it supposedly bothers you, and you kind of look at the different things and look at charts and come up with that. So it's a great investigative tool for agents or anybody else, just because it can kind of help you like tell whether this person might be being truthful or not. Or if they are truthful, then you can focus your energy on other suspects or whatever. But as far as being a panacea, like 100%, it's not. It's just another tool for an investigator to have like in their toolbox, right? So the accuracy depends on what survey you look at. They say it's like anywhere between 88 to about 92% accurate.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it is fairly accurate. A lot of times when it's wrong is an operator error. I know there was a
That would be bad.
I think the Green River killer, if I'm getting the case right, the guy that was a serial killer out west took a polygraph and passed. And so he went on and killed other people after that, which was really sad. So again, it's not perfect. You can't rely on it 100%. But we use the polygraph in criminal investigations. We polygraph all the FBI agents have to take them, and every applicant, no matter what your position, to apply to the FBI, you have to take a polygraph exam. And you have to pass it. If you don't pass it, you don't get a job. So what I tell my kids is like, some of them get nervous when they have to come take the polygraph. They come see me, but there's two parts to it. If you're an applicant, one is, are you a terrorist or a spy? And usually most kids aren't worried about that. But then they get to the drug question and the criminal history and that stuff. And I just kind of tell them, just be honest there, right? So for example, the drug question bothers a lot of kids. And I just tell them, be familiar with the FBI drug policy, right? And so, just be confident, right? And again, I don't know what the latest one is, but it used to be like marijuana use in the last 3 years, and if it's 2, then it's 1. I don't know if that's even a question anymore, but just be comfortable with the question, right? So if I had an applicant come in and I'm like, okay, here's the marijuana policy. Have you used marijuana in the last 2 years or whatever? And they say, I don't think so. When they say I don't think so, it tells me they've used marijuana in the last 2 years, right? So I was always nice. I'm like, look, I can give you this today, but if you fail it, it's going to really mess you up. You want to take this in 6 months or whatever, and they always took you up on the offer. But yeah, so It's a tool that it can be admissible in evidence if both sides agree, which is pretty rare. Some of the states allow it. I think New Mexico, you can do it. One of the things that a lot of federal judges use it is when the sex offenders get out of prison, require them to take a polygraph every 6 months or whatever, just to make sure they're not going to reoffend. And I did a little bit of that when I retired from the FBI and I started here at Western, but I don't do that anymore. So.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, so.
And the measurement tools that they have, when you hook them up, right, it looks scary because I've had, especially when you do our camps, and if people don't know, you are phenomenal there. And it's always like one of the highest ranked thing that all of our campers come in and do, or say our open houses. When you hook them up, what are you all getting?
So you're measuring basically three things. One is the sweat gland activity, right? So it's not, you don't even have to sweat for it to kick in to measure stuff, or if you're like me, somebody that sweats all the time, you still get a baseline. And I remember doing polygraphs in Afghanistan for the military, and everybody's sweating all the time because it's 130 degrees or whatever. But you get a baseline, measure that. Then you measure your heart rate and blood pressure, and it usually goes up if it bothers you. And then it also measures your respiration rate. And so when you're taking the polygraph, if the question bothers you, your respiration rate actually slows down, right? So what happens is you're basically getting in the fight or flight mode, so you're getting all this oxygen pumped to your lungs, but you're just sitting there on your tail, so it makes your respiration rate slow down. The best analogy I can think of is the old Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom. When they show the lion getting ready to go kill him, he's just breathing real slow. He's kind of, because he's chilling, he hadn't done anything yet, but so it kind of measures those things, and again, you have to look at the charts and kind of decide whether somebody's truthful or not truthful. So.
Okay, all right. Now, here's one question, because this has been asked a lot by students, okay? So what if, for example, they have anxiety?
Okay.
How will that just knock them out of the position? How do we work? Can they disclose that? Can you account for that?
So you get a baseline. So if I have an applicant come in, I'm going to talk to them usually for a couple hours before I even hook them up to the machine, right? Just to kind of go all that. And then we do practice tests. We do all that to get a baseline and all that. My experience, and I don't know if there's any studies back that, people that are nervous do well on the polygraph, right? Because they're worried about, they want to be truthful and all this kind of stuff, right? So if somebody came in and said, I'm not nervous at all and I've never done anything wrong, those are the ones that usually don't do so high. But but no, like some people have, like, whatever their religion, a certain guild or whatever, they usually do pretty well. They do okay on there. So if they're on a lot of different medications, they might not be able to be tested or whatever. But as far as like, if somebody's anxious or whatever, it's my job to kind of get them in the right mindset before I hook it up there. So they understand exactly. I go over every question. Do you understand this question? How are you going to answer it, yes or no? And then they usually do okay. So.
And for one of your areas is our polygraph line. How did you get into the polygraph training? Was it like a specialized class that you went to?
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so they like experienced agents to be polygraph examiners. There's really not that many of them. And so towards the end of my career, so at the end of my career, I always enjoyed the interrogation and interview of folks. And that's kind of part of the job of the polygraph examiner, is not just to give the polygraph, but it's also to, hey, you failed this test, let's figure out why, kind of thing. Yeah. And so I put in for it, and I was fortunate to get it. And so we went to polygraph school down at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina. And it's been a while, so I think it's like a 3 or 4 month training period. And they teach you all this stuff down there. And then you come out, and then you're under a probationary thing, and you have a supervisor come out and sit on a few of them. And then you're on your own after that. But that's kind of the training I went through, and really enjoyed it. A lot of fun. So.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
I know family members have watched shows with the BAU, Behavioral Analysis Unit, right? Yeah. And they seem to have a polygrapher there. Did you ever get a chance to work with anyone at the BAU, or how did that work, or anything like that?
No, I never went out to the BAU, but we would coordinate with whoever the case agent was. Like, for example, let's say they were working a person had a bunch of child pornography on their computer, and they're going to execute a search warrant at their house, right? So what we would do is I'd go with them to the house, right?
Got it.
And so when they're talking to the person and they say, hey, are you willing to take a polygraph? Are you sexually molesting children? No. Are you willing to take a polygraph? Yes, right? Well, we found out that if they say yes, but we try and set something up a week later, between that time and the week later, they either change their mind or get a lawyer, say, what the heck, don't do it. So we thought it was a good idea to go out on the search warrant. And so then they say, oh yeah, and then I'm willing to take a polygraph, and we'd say, well, it's your lucky day. We have a polygraph examiner here. Let's go do it right now. So
that'd be a shock, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I do that, and basically just trying to figure out, if they're molesting kids or not. So
that's excellent. That's
yeah.
excellent. Yeah. That's excellent. Okay, so last question.
Uh-oh.
All right, it's not bad. Okay, who has been your most important professional mentor? And it could be on the educational side, or it could be through the FBI. It could be through your time and your time with law. Who would be that person and why?
I've been blessed to work with so many great folks, and even now, having you as a director has been awesome. But I've learned so much for so many people, and just people that have integrity, that live the lifestyle that I always try and strive for. If I had to pick one person, it was a guy by the name of Jim Davies. He was an agent when I first got to the Atlanta Division. He was an older agent, had former military experience, and he really took the time to kind of help me out. And he was just the way he carried himself, the way he treated people, and the way he treated, we'd be out driving and he would just pull over and just talk to folks and do nice things for people. And it was really great to see. And if I wrote a really bad report or something, he would take me aside, not embarrass me, say, hey, let's talk about this report. Here's some things you might want to do different, kind of thing. And just like, he didn't have to do that. And I always thought, I want to be that guy. So when I always tried to help others when I got a little bit more experience, try and help people out there. But just a great guy, and unfortunately passed away from cancer a few years ago. But I'm always forever indebted to him. So, yeah.
Mentors make and break us.
Yeah.
Depending on who they are. I know that, as from the student responses, you're so highly regarded.
Well, I appreciate that. I hope I have a positive influence on some of these kids. I know I can't get them all, but I do love teaching here, and I love these kids, and I want to see them be successful. So.
Well, and I know this too, your mock trial, and I know that you worked with our mock trial. Can you just explain what mock trial is?
Yeah.
Because some people may not.
Mock trial is a club here at Western Illinois where kids compete against other schools from around the country.
That's cool.
They get assigned a mock case, or like a criminal or civil case, and they have to get up and argue as attorneys. They have to testify as witnesses, and so Western, we've had some success in competing against some of these kids. At first would be intimidated. Oh, we're going up against Notre Dame or an Ivy League school. No, they do okay. And,
that's excellent.
And Tori Smith has been a big part. I've learned a lot from her. She's a legal counsel here now, I think. But she's brilliant. I mean, she's so good with these kids, and I've learned a lot from her. And she's a Harvard Law grad, and she's just been fun to work with. And she really made the program really great. And I just kind of learned a lot from her. So.
Oh, it's been phenomenal. I know a lot of students love it. They like your interjection to the class, and they like that you will talk to students just by having your door open.
Yeah.
And that's grad and undergrad, and that is a phenomenal asset to our program.
I appreciate it.
It absolutely is. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I'll tell you, Dave, it is very, very kind of you to take your time to talk to me.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a phenomenal interview for us. I'm also very, very thankful you're part of our team, because I know how much it strengthens us. One of the things that we are fanatic on is that every person within our area has done the job. And my goodness. So I was prepping, look at you, I was like, it's kind of like, what haven't you done? It's just a phenomenal career that most people I hate to say, are going to beg for.
Well, I appreciate that, but I always tell my students, like, I'll talk about stuff that I messed up. I don't claim to be the greatest FBI agent and all that stuff by any stretch, right? There's times, so like when we're talking about stuff in our criminal investigations class, I may say, hey, here's a time I did this, and I wish I'd done this kind of thing. So I don't want to be one of these professors that think they know everything and the greatest thing ever. By no stretch do I think that, and I'm just trying to share my experiences and help them out. So.
Well, we appreciate it, sir. So thank you
Hey,
so
thanks,
much
Jamie.
for being
Thanks for having
here.
me.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you, man.
Okay, so we are concluding, this interview with Professor Young. I just want to keep everyone reminded that he works for Western Illinois University. He's part of my team. Phenomenal instructor, okay? So coming here to Western and to the School of Law Enforcement Justice Administration program, you get to work with him. And every faculty member here is just excellent. So again, I want to thank you again, Dave, for being here.
Thanks, Jamie.
So everyone, you have a great day, and please keep looking forward to new episodes. We're going to keep highlighting more of our faculty from Western Illinois University and the School of Law Enforcement. Thank you and have a good day.